Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tip of the Ice-Burgh podcast, your home for Pittsburgh Penguins news and analysis. And speaking of homes, we have a new home here at the Tip of the Ice-Burgh. You'll still be able to find us anywhere you get your podcast from. We're still on Twitter and or X, whatever you like to call it, at Ice-Burgh Podcast. And we will also still be at Tip of the Ice-Burgh on YouTube, but we just wanted to kind of share the love a little bit. So we're also at Nick Belsky on YouTube. I've been putting up some pro wrestling content, been putting up some Pittsburgh Steelers content over there, soon to be some Pittsburgh Pirates content over there. And we debated, myself especially, was, okay, do I make separate Penguins videos for this new channel, or do I just collaborate? And thanks to YouTube's new collaborate feature, we're doing just that. So you can find us there. You can find us here. There's, of course, a lot of other random content over there. But nonetheless, just a quick update from your pals at the Tip of the Ice-Burgh. But Horwat, as we sit here and talk, the Pittsburgh Penguins probably already back from a long flight from Northern California back to Southwestern Pennsylvania and coming back with a 2-1 record in the state of California over the past week. These hockey games are tough. It is tough, especially that first one. The 10:30 start time, which eventually ended up being a 10:44 start time, is rough. So late night hockey was back for the first iteration this year. What were your thoughts on the Pens road trip?
My thoughts are, first off, to kick off, yes, those late night games are tough. But now working a job that sometimes lets out at puck drop, very nice. I can actually watch some of the games that are that late and not have to kind of get bits and pieces. However, it's late, so I'm still tired and caught what I could. But I would say my thoughts on the road trip are: who is this team? What is this team? Are the Penguins good? Are the Penguins bad? Are they trying to win? Are they trying to lose? That has kind of been the trend all season almost. But it was very much exemplified in California with the 2-1 run, including a shutout, including a big comeback. Don't know what to make of this team. They strike me as a shifting team each and every game. And honestly, that's not terrible, but it's just making it tough to figure out what direction this whole season is going to go in. I mean, it's, we're already a couple weeks into the season. We've already knocked out a West Coast trip. The Penguins, teams don't know their identifiers yet, but the Penguins are certainly far away from finding anything near an identifier of their team.
The funny thing about this California road trip is I heard a lot of people over the past week saying, historically, the Penguins, not good out there in California. And I think we're all just scarred from what happened in 2019-20, because right before the COVID shutdown, the Penguins went out there and they had a horrific 0-3 road trip. They looked bad. That was the first couple of games of like Patty Marleau in a Penguins uniform. It didn't look good after having a really solid start to that season. And then COVID happens, they come back and they lose to the Montreal Canadiens. I think we've been so scarred from that we forget that over the past 5 years since then, the Penguins are 8-4 in those three buildings. That's pretty dang good. And that's before this year. So now you advance their record to 10-5 since 2020 in those three buildings in San Jose, in Anaheim, and in Los Angeles. And it's a little weird because I was under the same impression. And then I was like, okay, so they changed the narrative with this winning road trip. This is kind of a new leaf for this Penguins team. And then you go back and you check the box scores and you're like, wait a minute, they've been pretty darn good out there over the past 5 seasons.
That's fascinating. I didn't realize that. Maybe part of that could be that those losses felt like it's possible those were winnable games, considering how poor at least the Sharks and the Ducks have been in that time. The Kings, not so much. Maybe for the beginning of it. Thinking back, though, in those last few years, the Penguins did put a 10 spot up on the Sharks at one point out there.
You had the Brian Rust double overtime goal game in LA.
Yeah. So I guess there's a win there. I don't know. Thinking back to it, like maybe all those memories of losses out west are just pre-COVID losses, and it's not, regrouping in my head that they've actually done pretty decent. There had to be another year in there where it wasn't good.
I think they were 1-2 last year, but last year it was also in the midst of a 7-game road trip and they split it up. It wasn't that chronology of you play Anaheim, you play LA, and you play San Jose. You didn't just work north. I think they played 2 of them. Then they threw Utah in there, and then they were also, that was a trip where they started in Buffalo. They played in it was a 7-game road trip, which is crazy. The schedule makers really just threw the book at the Penguins last year, because this year their longest one is 5, and that's, again, a weird road trip because this year that 5-gamer starts and ends at Carolina. So again, schedule makers are on something the last 2 years. But no, I just wanted to start it off by bringing that up. Like, I was surprised when I looked back and I was like, man, since COVID, they've been pretty darn good in California.
Yeah, I mean, if it is what it is, it's an interesting take. Maybe also part of it is that LA at least always comes into Pittsburgh and does pretty well. Maybe there's that little element of the Kings usually also travel to Pittsburgh with success, whereas the Penguins, I mean, do you know the details of that 10-5, or is it just kind of the total
I don't have it
numbers?
written out here. I
Yeah.
went through and quickly looked through all the box scores on Hockey Reference and prep
Mhm.
for this, and I was like, this, and I kept adding them up, and I was like, we're at 8-4. A lot of them were 2-1s.
Yeah.
Not very many sweeps. But yeah, a lot of 2-1 road trip wins, and honestly, that's what they got this time. And you have to be happy coming back with a winning record when you're going into those 3 buildings. Now, I understand San Jose is a team that might very well add another nice young piece to their young core in next year's draft, but they're a team that has a lot of opportunity to score goals, and you shut them out. That's what you're supposed to do. LA is a very good team, albeit without Anze Kopitar in that game, without their starting netminder, Darcy Kemper, in that game. But again, still a very tough team to beat on that ice. And then, of course, Anaheim, a team that just for years has been a horrible matchup for the Penguins. Mason McTavish has kind of victimized this organization in his young career, and they don't get the win there, but they very well could have, if not for just one mistake late in the game by Parker Wotherspoon that ends up putting them on the power play, and your penalty kill just did not have a good night. So all in all, a really solid road trip for the Penguins. And now coming back, you have to look at some of the takeaways, because this has been half the season to this point. You mentioned we're only 2 weeks in.
Yeah.
We're only 6 games in, and this was 3 of them. So let's get into our biggest takeaways from this road trip. And if you don't mind, I'd like to lead off with this one, because I think a lot of people are really starting to have this conversation as we're 6 full games into the season, 5 games into these 9-game tryouts. Harrison Brunicke and Ben Kindel, to me, it's starting to feel like they have a real chance to stay. And I think part of that is what you saw on this road trip. Not only did they play pretty well, and they continued to kind of impress in their early stints here at 18 and 19 years old, respectively, but it feels like there's a real plan in place to prevent them from burning out, because they are so young. Now, they may not stay all season. That might not mean, hey, they're here all 82, but it feels like the plan, and again, I'm just speculating here, but it feels like the plan is they're going to stay until it is made evident that their progression, their development would be better served in the juniors. And as of right now, it does not feel like that's anywhere close to being the case.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope. It's a thin line to walk, especially if the Penguins are okay with doing that, letting them play and play and play. And then essentially, when it comes down to it, they may exceed that 9-game sample size. And then it is, well, are you okay with burning the year? In some cases, you might be, because figure you have control anyway. It's people always talk about the burning of a year of the ELC. You burn a year, it's not like you don't have control of the player. You just have to re-sign them a little quicker. And that's not a big deal, and it shouldn't be that hard, especially with the cap going way up in the next few seasons. As long as you can, as an organization, show your commitment to said player or players, just burn the year. Whatever. Yeah. I mean, what are they going to do? Come back really hot and demand millions and millions of dollars right away? Possible, but slightly unlikely, considering they wouldn't have as much time to do so. And you get them at a cheaper deal, and maybe they hit that stride even during a cheaper deal. I think it's okay to burn a year. Again, you don't want to totally waste. You don't want them to hit 10 games and it was 10 games of nonsense. These guys are playing well, and they're earning their right to stay in the NHL. The tough part, it does become that you can't pull them back. So maybe that's sort of the thought process too, is that you can't bring them back once you lose them. but the Penguins have an AHL system that seems to be pretty rock solid right now.
Undefeated looks pretty good on them.
Yeah. So for the team and for the organization, maybe you just give these guys as long of a run as they need. And then if you need to send it back, you send it back. And then you burnt a year. So what? You have control. And like I said, you got those AHL guys.
Yeah. And here's the thing, too. You burn a year, but at the same time, it's not like you're burning a year and then being like, well, it's because we just didn't know what we had in them and we had to continue to see it. You're burning a year because it's better for them right now in their development to stay at the NHL level. And if they stay past 9 games, that's essentially the message that the front office is sending is, hey, these guys are good enough to stick at this level. And honestly, we don't think it's best for them to develop at the WHL level. I always go back to it. This is one of the quotes over the past couple of years that has stuck with me the most. Jason Spezza has said explicitly on Sportsnet Pittsburgh when he was doing an interview during the game last year, we don't want to just pull these guys up so they're playing in the NHL. We want to pull them up when we believe they're ready. And again, if you haven't heard me discuss it before, it's because when Jason Spezza was a prospect, he was pulled up before he was ready. He was then sent back. He was pulled up. He was sent back, and it really hurt his development, and it took him a little bit longer to become the player that ended up antagonizing the Penguins of the early Crosby years and taking them out in the playoffs, right? So he doesn't want that same thing to happen with some of the Penguins' best players. So if these guys are up and these guys stay past 9, that is the organization saying that is because this is what's best for their development. Playing against junior competition won't be. Playing against NHL players, playing against greats of the game current day, that's what's best for them. And so far, you can say that that's looking like it. So I like the fact that, Kindel sat out first for a game. Brunicke sat out the next game. And they both came back in. And guess what? They both had pretty solid performances in that first game back as well, which shows you, hey, they've bought in. They understand the reasoning behind it. And they think that it is best for them as well. So I like what I've seen. And honestly, when you see something like that, it might not signal they're here to stay for the whole season, but it signals to me that this might be a little bit more than a 9-game for both of them. Things can change. We still have a little over a week until they get close to that 9-game threshold, and that could get pushed back a little bit too. They keep sitting here and there. But no, that was my biggest takeaway is these kids actually have a real chance to stay. Like, it is becoming a serious conversation that they are more likely to stay than they are to go back after that specific 9-game sample.
And good on them. They're earning every second of it. I don't mind, for now at least, the little pitch count, if you will, for benching them and taking them out every so often. That's fine, as long as it's like, I know you want them to be playing, you want them to be on the ice getting reps wherever it may be. Okay, but a game off here and there when you're traveling out west, no less, isn't going to hurt anything. If anything, it gives them that extra rest. Also, still just being around the team is beneficial in its own right. Whether you're playing or not. So they're treating this perfectly fine. I like what they're doing, and we'll see what decisions get made in a couple of games. We'll get there. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
All right. Now you give me your biggest takeaway. I have one more little secondary one, but we'll get to that in a minute. What's your biggest takeaway?
No matter what direction we think the Penguins should be going in, what direction people think the Penguins should be going in, Sidney Crosby is not letting this team lose. He's going to do everything in his power to make sure they are in the win column each and every night. I get it. I do. That is Sidney Crosby. That's who he is. But he continues to prove that he's not – he's going to continue trying to help this team win. Doesn't matter what's going on. Doesn't matter what the outside says. Doesn't matter what what noise is out there. Heck, it doesn't matter how much trade speculation pops up over summer during the season, each and every day, whatever it may be. He's going to produce. He's going to perform. And with a road trip of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points in 3 games. Yeah, I think he's doing everything he can. 5 points in 3 games, doing everything he can to help this team win.
Yeah, still pretty good at hockey, huh?
Pretty good. You could say that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that was obvious, but you always have to bring it up because there's always going to be that conversation. Like, we're still we're not having that conversation. We're still seeing that conversation.
Yeah.
And it's as ridiculous today as it's been the last 3 years. And he continues to be committed to this team, committed to this organization, committed to this city. And I don't understand why people think that that is not the case or won't be the case going forward. And I said it before the season, and I think you agree with me. Until I hear something from him otherwise, he's a Pittsburgh Penguin and he's going to remain that way. And we haven't heard anything to the otherwise in now going on 21 years. So again, good takeaway. I like it. I agree with it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I said, even if the Penguins are supposed to be losing, like I thought they would this year, and like how I just mentioned, I don't know who this team is. Doesn't matter. Sidney Crosby knows what this team is, and he's gonna be the one that keeps them in the win column, however many times that may be this year.
Now, I do have one quick one before we get to the rest of the show, talking some goaltenders, talking some defense. So stick around because those will be some fun conversations. But one more takeaway, and this one again comes from the forward side of things. Man, Justin Brazeau is just a gem of a pickup by Kyle Dubas. Credit where credit is due. When I looked at that Brazeau signing, I was like, okay, he's in the bottom six. We'll see if he goes with some of these young guys just to be a big body. We'll see if he's like a net front guy for a young player to just kind of just use as a shield. No, he is his own player. He is a great player for the Penguins through the first 6 games. And I understand it is still very early, but the hands don't lie. That is the thing I'm most surprised about. Yeah, he's a pretty decent skater. We've heard that in scouting reports, but this guy came in. It's not like he was an elite goal scorer over his last couple of seasons in the NHL. And yet 4 goals in the first 6 games. And you look at that game last night, the hands were just on display, shift in and shift out. And the 2 words that I could use to describe Justin Brazeau, and it's really 2 words that I could use to describe that entire second line: confident and chemistry. And I think that is what has built a very good start for those 3, but for Justin Brazeau in particular. And honestly, the final part of this takeaway, Malkin finally has some line mates that might be able to play with him through a consistent period of time. I mean, over the last 2 seasons, how many times have I come on this show and you've come on this show and said the same thing? Revolving door of wingers for Evgeny Malkin. He has 2 massive skyscrapers on either side of him. And oh, wait, he's a skyscraper in and of itself. 6'5", 6'5", 6'4", run the heights of all 3 of them. And they're all skilled players too. Anthony Mantha, we know what his pedigree was before coming in. He notches his second goal against San Jose. But Justin Brazeau, to me, is the biggest surprise of the Penguins' early season. And you just have to tip your cap to Kyle Dubas because he hit it out of the park bringing this guy in. Through the first 2 weeks, it has netted some very positive returns.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That line is just meat.
Meat.
Yeah. There's
Where's
no
the beef on the Penguins' second line, ma'am?
Yeah.
Enjoy.
That is a meaty line. Like you mentioned those heights. And not only are they tall guys, they're not lanky. They are wide humans as well.
Yeah.
That's why I call it meat. Very fun. I like what we're seeing from Justin Brazeau as well. I mean, 4 goals is leading the team. Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's early.
Gino has 3.
Yeah.
So he's getting there. I think Gino has 2. Sid has 3. That's right.
Yeah. But hey, still, those numbers are impressive for someone that maybe, I don't want to say we didn't expect to do something like this, but we didn't expect
I didn't expect him to be a top 6 guy.
Yeah.
I didn't.
And here we are, 6 games in. He's got 5 points, 4 of them being goals. And again, yeah, it's early. You're looking at Justin Brazeau as the goals leader for the Penguins right now. In much in the same way that Ryan Shea is leading the team in defensive points. But it's still those early stages. But the groundwork is being laid for Justin Brazeau to be again, depending on what direction this team wants to go in, decent piece for the top 6 next to Evgeny Malkin and a line that is just full of meat.
You know what's hilarious is, and part of this might just be hyperbole and part of this might be prisoner of the moment, but you think of some of the line mates that just didn't click with Malkin, guys like Riley Smith, guys like Derek Brassard, and how good they were and how much of a pedigree and resume they had coming into Pittsburgh, and it just didn't work with Malkin. And yet here comes big Justin Brazeau. All of us are saying maybe a fourth liner, maybe a healthy scratch. Does he really make the roster? Yeah, you'd have to imagine because of the contract he signed. And he comes in here and all of a sudden, oh, this just looks like it was fate. Like it looks like it was the line mate that Evgeny Malkin has been waiting for 20 years. Okay, maybe that's a bit much, but still, I think that what he's been able to do in this first couple of weeks obviously has been recognized, rightfully so. But I just thought, again, through this road trip, he continued to pour it on. It wasn't just a, hey, flash in the pan, first week thing. Nice job, Justin Brazeau. It's something that it's not just the goals. Some of the plays he made on Saturday night, just the hands that he's had in tight spaces in front of the net, some of the vision that he's shown and displayed. It's just something where I can't get enough of Justin Brazeau. He has exceeded every expectation. Speaking of expectations, though, I do want to get into the goaltending. And, you rightfully said, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, I don't want to bring up goaltending because I know you're going to talk about goaltending every week. And here we are. I'm going to talk about goaltending this week. And expectations for goaltending were really non-existent. We didn't know who was the starter. And I think that was from day one, whenever we got those tweets that came in from Josh Yohe and from Taylor Haas of DK Pittsburgh Sports that were like, yeah, Arturs Silovs is starting opening night. F what you thought. Arturs Silovs is the opening night starter for the Penguins. And we're like, oh, okay, so they view Silovs as starter. Oh, no. They are doing this back and forth, Michael Scott, snip, snap, every other game thing with the Penguins goaltenders. And yet it's kind of worked. It's been I would call it a strong start from Penguins goaltenders. And I think it's interesting because both are 2-1 and both in their 3 games have 3 very similar performances that can line up, right? They both had their bad start. For Silovs, it was against the Rangers. For Jarry, it was against the Ducks. Not great starts. One was worse than the other because he gave up 6 and you lost 6-1. The other one, not great. And then you look at a decent start at the Kings for Silovs versus the Islanders in the home opener for Jarry. And then they each have a shutout at the Rangers for Silovs, at San Jose for Tristan Jarry. And you're like, okay, they're looking pretty much as solid goaltenders right now that should be sharing the net the way they're sharing the net. It's an interesting situation because how often do you see teams where they're just like, yeah, no, you don't have to ask. Like we know on Tuesday against Vancouver, it's likely going to be Arturs Silovs just because it's been that way through 6 games. Why would it change now, right? They took Silovs out after a shutout on opening night for Tristan Jarry in the home opener. I think we'll still see, even though Tristan Jarry got a shutout, we'll probably see Silovs on Tuesday. Do you like the fact that they are just saying, hey, listen, the method to our madness is you started last game, so you're starting this game. So it's not really allowing any rust, but are you a little worried that it might also not allow any goaltender to kind of get into a rhythm as well and build off of their previous performance?
Well, not only does Silovs make sense against the Canucks for the back and forth, it's also his former team.
There is that, yes.
It's also his former team. That's got to be a fun little moment. Do I like this? We've seen this before in the NHL. We've seen teams do this. I wouldn't quite say the Capitals did it last year, but they had 2 very good options that they kind of could have done it last year.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who else has done it. The Canucks did it a long time ago with Luongo and back when Schneider was popping off.
Vegas did it a little bit when it was Leonard Fleury.
Yes. So. I'm trying to remember some of the other teams that have done it, but we know we've seen this before. The 1A, 1B situation working out fairly well. The Penguins kind of tried it with Jarry and Nedeljkovic for a little bit until it was very clear one was better than the other at various points of the season. So I don't dislike it, especially with the situation that the Penguins are in. Again, it's tough to really narrow down what kind of team they are through these first 6 games. But if they are a team that's, again, just experimenting with things, just trying things, if Sidney Crosby's going to keep trying to help force them to win, why not just keep flipping back and forth on goalies? Because not too much matters, but also if one of them starts to strike gold a little more than the other, then you start to ride with that one. It's a fascinating situation, but I do like the back and forth. I do like the idea of you're giving both these goalies confidence. They both believe they can do it, and they're both earning these starts too. That's the
Mhm.
other big part of it. It's not like you're looking at one going, hey, he shouldn't be in the net. No, they're both earning their starts.
Yeah, I have some mixed feelings about this. Now, on one hand, I look at this and I'm like, this is a quick way to not build any momentum consistently through the season. Because hey, Tristan Jarry just got a shutout. Do you want him to build off of that? Yeah, but also it's Arturs Shilov's turn on Tuesday. We'll see Jarry on Thursday in Florida. And it's like, okay, it's a long time. But also on the other side, if you have a rough performance, then it's like, okay, listen, I know that I'm going to have the next game off, so I can kind of look back at what went wrong and I can try to fix that, because I know based on what's happened that I'm going to start the following game after that. I'm not going to ride the bench. I'm not going to be punished because of this bad start. So if they remain consistent with that, I think that it levels out. But I think where you get into an issue is, all right, one on, one off, one on, one off. Okay, you know what? Actually, Silovs has been better. Let's go 2 on, 1 off. Now let's change it to 1 on, 2 off. And I think that the reason this has worked so well this early is because these guys have been told and communicated with that this is what's going to happen. You're going to go back and forth because none of you have really taken a stranglehold on this position, and because that's where the Penguins are at, right? We talked about it with Kindel and Brunicke. We saw not just Harrison Brunicke take a seat, we saw Caleb Jones take a seat in favor of Connor Clifton and Matt Dumba. We saw Philip Hollander go in. We've seen Nola Chari take a seat. We've seen Phil Tomasino sit out. We've seen Tommy Novak sit out. It feels like outside of the top 6 and the top 2 defense pairs, it is a true rotation in the bottom 6 and the third pairing. How long will that be able to sustain? I'm not sure. It's not something that you see too often with winning teams in the NHL. But as of right now, the Penguins are winning while doing it. And I think as long as there is that communication that, hey, listen, this is what it is. This is what it's going to be. Like, if you struggle, don't worry. We're going to get you back out there. If you have a great game, good. Know that you're going to take a break, take a beat. We're going to see Jarry, and you're going to be right back out there. Like, we're not going to sit you too long. Promise you. So I don't know how I feel about it. I do have feelings on either side of this, but as long as there's communication and as long as it's consistent, I think that it could be something that in the short term works. But again, we'll have to keep our eyes on it because goaltending, man, it's voodoo, it's fickle. There's so many different sayings for goaltending in the NHL because it is that just polarizing every single week for every single team. With that said, we know a lot about Tristan Jarry. I really like Arturs Shilovs. I really do. He's endeared himself because of his personality, but also because of his play. He was solid against the Kings. The Artie party is a heck of a lot of fun. He has a great personality, but, and I want to know if I'm off base here. He still has the quote fun backup vibe going in my head. Like, it still feels okay. It's a different flavor of Alex Nedeljkovic. Great personality, solid goaltender, but can he really be a guy? Can he really be when the lights turn the brightest, when it becomes April, when it becomes May? Can he be a guy that at this level is able to put his foot in the dirt and say, listen, I'm a brick wall back here? He did it for the AHL Calder Cup champions last year. And I think that's why I'm starting to feel like this is just unfairly judging and too early to judge. But right now, he has the vibe of a fun backup. And I think that he's young enough that he can just prove me wrong, and he probably will. But for some reason, I can't shake the feeling that it's like, this just feels like, another Alex Nedeljkovic situation, albeit younger and with a little bit more development to go.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how I can word it so like I sort of agree with you, but I'm trying to find the angle of it. Like yes, the fun backup. He's coming in with the great personality and is playing very well and is vibing like a fun backup. Part of it could be that if Tristan Jarry continues his pace, Tristan Jarry is playing very well so far. If Jarry continues that, well then Arturs Shilovs is playing behind the stone cold stern starting goalie of this is my spot, this is my position, I'm the no nonsense stop pucks goalie, You go have your fun, kids. That's one angle that I'm thinking about. The other one could be, is that the same thing, the same way we discuss all the Penguins prospects right now? Those young, fun names that are all building chemistry. The difference with Silovs is he's at the NHL level and he wears goalie pads. Could
Yeah.
that be it too? Maybe that's the more accurate one, is just that he's just in that, like, yeah, he's new and still needs to really get intertwined like that, but maybe he's just bringing that vibe. It just so happens he has to play at the NHL level.
Yeah, you might have something there. I mean, that might be it because, but at the same time, I look at, I don't know, like, yes, to an extent, but at the same time, I'm looking at Philip Hollander and I'm like, man, this is a player. Like, this is a guy.
Yeah.
This is a guy. Like, keep him on your third line. This is a guy. With Silovs, I'm like, yeah, I can see it. But again, what up, Jeff Zadkoff? Like, yeah, similar. I don't know. Like, he's good. Probably better. No, not probably. Definitely better than Jeff Zadkoff. But it feels like at the end of the day, if there's a tie, the tie is going to go to Tristan Jarry. And that's why it feels like fun backup vibes to me. And again, it's something that could change in the drop of a hat. And he's had great performances, but it's just like, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it consistently. You've seen it in spurts. You saw it in the playoffs 2 years ago with Vancouver. And guess what happened last year? He played all of 10 games, I think, for the NHL Vancouver Canucks. Oh, no, that was 10 games 2 years ago. Let me look this up real quick.
Oh,
but he still spent a lot of time down at the AHL level last year.
He also dealt with injuries. I mean, and he ended up getting surpassed by Kevin Lankinen, who went out there and stole the absolute show in Vancouver. Yeah. That could be a big reason why he didn't get a lot of playing time on top of an injury, plus Thatcher Demko eventually returning himself. Silovs also went into last season with an injury himself. Like there was a big
it was Vancouver goaltending. It was weird last year.
It was wild last year, yes. I remember trying to cover it and thinking,
but again,
they're not going to have much going on. And then it's Silovs because, like you mentioned, it is veterans going to get the nod.
Yeah.
And at least last year, and even to an extent this year, it makes sense because he's still young and still has time to develop.
He's 24.
Still, in goaltending years, he is like a little more
that's
time
what I'm
to
saying.
develop.
He's 24. He's young.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
I'm agreeing. Sorry.
No, you're good. So there's still time to really find the rhythm with Silovs. And I like the situation that he's in. I do enjoy, plus having a good personality is good. Goaltenders need to have that good personality, need to bring more pizzazz and not be so dull and robotic. And that's good.
Yeah. And again, I'm nothing against him having a good personality. I was fortunate enough to be at Penguins Media Day and we had a great conversation. Like he's a lot of fun to talk to. And again, I just go back to, I understand it was because of injury and I don't begrudge him for it. I just haven't seen it at a consistent basis at this level. And that's why I think that that's why I think mostly that I have that feeling. And honestly, like I said, the guy has a great personality. I started this whole thing out by saying I really like Arturs Silovs. I don't want this to be misconstrued as something that me saying that I don't, but I want that to be, that feeling to be just ripped right out of me by his performance on a consistent basis. And that's what I'm looking for as we move forward. Speaking of moving forward though, the Penguins are moving forward with a little bit more answers on the left side of defense. I don't know. I guess we'll talk about it. Like, do they have more answers? Because they came into the year, the left side of the defense was potentially the biggest question mark that any NHL team has going into this year. Like, you looked at the left side of the Penguins defense and you were like, what is that? Like, there's none of that is proven. Like, literally no answers. Like, even on the SATs, you write your name down, you get what, like a 500? I don't know. It's been over a decade. I don't want to discuss that anymore. It's been over a decade since I took the SATs, but you get a lot of points for putting your name down. Pens didn't even have that on the left side of their defense. And not all of them are answered. Most of them remain unanswered, but you can kind of start to see it. And again, I'm going to just word vomit what I've been thinking, and you're going to tell me how wrong I am. But Connor Clifton played in one game. He played on his off wing, something he hasn't done much at the NHL level over his career. But it feels like he could be a real nice player in that spot. He could bring a physical presence that this blue line really doesn't have unless Chris Letang gets pissed off. But if he can get comfortable on the left side, I do like Connor Clifton as an everyday third pairing defenseman. Again, that major if he can get really comfortable on that left side. And then if you move up the lineup, what I think you want to see if you're a Penguins fan, Parker Wotherspoon, who I think has proven in the first 6 games that he can handle top 4 left-handed defenseman duties, that he can handle playing with a defenseman the caliber of Erik Karlsson, especially because I think he's played really well. But you add on the fact that he is playing in a position that not many people play in, and he certainly hasn't before in his career, which is playing next to somebody that plays the style of Erik Karlsson. Like last year, for the majority of the season, he had 2 defense partners that he would go between, Brandon Carlo and Mason Lohrei. That is so far beyond different than what he has faced so far this season, being partnered with the enigma that is EK65. I think he's handled it well, and I think that you can see, like I said, it's not a firm, set in stone stamp of approval, but you can see, all right, Parker Wotherspoon looks like a nice piece, like he could really hold his own as a top 4 defenseman for this team. I think the big question that you really want to have answered, can Owen Pickering become that other top 4 D-man? Can Owen Pickering become that partner alongside Chris Letang? But I think the question that we have to ask, and it's one that we're going to have to revisit a lot this year, how much more confident are you in the Penguins' left side now that we've kind of seen a little bit of proof of concept from what Kyle Dubas' mind was thinking throughout this summer when he constructed, like I mentioned, when we came into the season, a group that we all looked at it and said, what?
Yeah.
So again, I lay that at your feet to kind of unpack.
Try to pick up those pieces. Sure. I think
Sure.
That's tough because you look at Daily Faceoff's current listing of Parker Wotherspoon, Ryan Shea, Caleb Jones as your left side.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, okay. On paper, it doesn't look phenomenal. But again, this team is so interestingly weird that something's working. I mentioned Ryan Shea's leading defensive points for the Penguins right now. And at one point was second in the league behind Cale Makar.
Yeah.
Hello?
It's early.
It is so early.
Leaderboards are hilarious this early in the season.
No kidding. But still, having that sort of early season production at all, like I mentioned earlier, it sets a base for something. It sets a base that you can grow on and also just makes things extremely intriguing. I just don't know what to make of this Penguins defense that goes on both sides, because you mentioned Owen Pickering could come up at some point and become that partner for Chris Letang. There's still the Ryan Graves of it all, who's God only knows what's going to happen with him and where his near future takes him.
He's going to be a nice piece for a Calder Cup champion team in Wilkes-Barre this year.
See, like that, but does he get
an opportunity?
Does he get an opportunity again at the NHL level? Because likely, very likely.
Yeah.
When? Don't know yet.
How? Is also a big question.
Yeah. But that's an option. And I mentioned both sides because Matt Dumba is still around. And I like Connor Clifton as well. I like the amount of options that the Penguins have. We used to discuss the Penguins defense very much by way of logjam.
Mm-hmm.
This still kind of feels like one, but one that at least presents a few more answers and a few more solutions in the Harrison Brunicks, in the Owen Pickerings, and in the Parker Wotherspoons, and the solutions that are positive players on the ice. Because back when we would discuss the log jams, it was, well, we're dealing with log jams and logs that aren't budging, and and everyone's skating through them.
Yeah.
This is a bit different. This is a bit more of a, let's try and mold the future out of these logs. Let's try and build us a cabin.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say we could also switch the metaphor, because I think that's what the Penguins have done. Like, it was a log jam before, like you said, because, you know, these big logs aren't moving because they're heavy and they have no movement clauses and they have massive, contracts, and the Penguins are up against the salary cap. But now that they have that flexibility, they've brought in a lot of players, and it's no longer a log jam. It's a new metaphor. It's a deck of cards that, hey, sometimes it comes up and it's all in your favor, sometimes, hey, shuffle that deck a little bit more and let's see what we got going. And that's what it feels like the Penguins are doing on defense. Now, the right side, I think that you have your answers there. I think that it's pretty obvious because some of those logs are still, we have a deck of cards and 2 logs, and their names are Chris Letang and Erik Karlsson. But behind that, I think you're seeing Harrison Brunicke, maybe not a log, but maybe a stick, pretty big stick, right? It seems like he's going to be in there until the development path says, Matt Dumba, you can play today. Like that's what it feels like early in the season. But no, I like what you're working with there. That hey, they have options, and there's nobody that they're beholden to in this lineup. There's nobody that they've made promises to in this lineup. And if guys struggle, okay, hey, guess what? It's the same thing as the goaltending. You're gonna get another opportunity, but it's just time for somebody else to get a crack at this. Okay, we're figuring things out as we go. We're giving guys opportunities and being truthful about it. Not saying, hey, guys are going to get opportunities and then one guy gets 8 minutes a night and then he gets shuffled back to the AHL, because that's what it's been the last couple of years. It's, hey, you're going to get your opportunities and we promise that you will get another one no matter how you perform. And I think a big kind of result of that is a guy that I didn't mention with my, I don't want to call it best case scenario, but where I see the future of this left side of the defense this year is Caleb Jones. He did not have a good first couple of games of the season. He struggled despite being next to somebody who was playing pretty well. There were times where you looked at it and you're like, man, you need to find somebody else to play with Harrison Brunicke. And that's a tough place to be in for Caleb Jones, who's coming into this organization looking to take advantage of an opportunity that he just could not get with his previous organization. You look at the last 2 games since they sat out for Connor Clifton, Caleb Jones is strung together some nice games. He's played some really good hockey. So again, guys are going to get opportunities, and I put Connor Clifton in that left-handed third line slot. Caleb Jones could steal that. Ryan Shea has held his own. You mentioned he's been scoring points. I think he's already at career high or 1 point away from a career high in points. But, he's showing a little bit of a different side of himself as well. It's something where, yes, you still have a lot of questions, but you're starting to see, like I mentioned, that proof of concept. And that's always a nice thing to have a couple weeks into the season, is a little bit more clarity on the direction of something that felt directionless about 2 months ago.
Yeah, they're making those positive strides. They have those options there. And eventually, this is what the early season is for, especially. The best options will eventually rise to the top.
Yeah.
The clear long-term, maybe not long-term, the clear season-long solutions will eventually sort of fizz their way to the top of the drink, and that's where the Penguins will be going. Whoever that may be, who knows? It could be an interesting trade deadline again, considering who knows what direction the Penguins want to go in, and the 3 big trade assets are still here.
And who knows where the Penguins will be at?
Yeah.
Is another big question. You mentioned Sidney Crosby's not going to let this team lose.
Nope.
He's not. And they're 4-2. They are 4-2 right now. That's a pretty solid start to the season. No matter who they played, you win 4, you lose 2, you're in a good spot. And not to mention, who knows how it plays out. If Parker Wotherspoon doesn't send that puck into the 16th row, maybe they're 5-1. That might be the difference between 5-1 and 4-2 right now.
No kidding.
And we already mentioned that Mike Sullivan game is that was just sand finding its balance, because you knew that was going to happen. But that's literally the only thing. I mean, again, you never know how that could have played out. They might have given up a goal with 16 seconds to go, like they did to Mason McTavish 2 seasons ago in that early season matchup. But it feels like they had a real shot to win that game, if not for putting themselves on their back foot, putting the Ducks on the power play, because the Penguins were the better of the 2 teams at 5-on-5. So they're that away from potentially being 5-1 to start this season. And no matter what happens, 5-1 to start a season, I don't care who you are, I don't care who you played, it's pretty damn good, and it's pretty damn impressive. So it's a very interesting season, just in general. And I don't know if we're going to be able to nail down what this team is. It might be Christmas and we're saying Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. What the hell are the Pittsburgh Penguins? Like, what are they at that point? So it'll be fun, and I hope you guys continue to ride the wave, as it were. with us here at the Tip of the Iceberg. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Tip of the Iceberg. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Remember, you can find us on YouTube at Ice-Burgh Podcast, or you can find us at Nick Belsky on YouTube as well now. But you can also find us anywhere you get your podcasts by searching Tip of the Iceberg. For Nick Horwat, I'm Nick Belsky, and that's it for this episode of the Tip of the Iceberg. We'll see you guys next time.